Egg. 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 Hi.
Hey, you know how like a lot of horror games will like have like a hello, will have a safe room of sorts. Gregory Horror Show has it, and Resident Evil has it, and I think Silent Hill has it too. I'm pretty sure Silent Hill has it too. And so I was wondering if, like, I think it would be fun if I was scared. Oh, I'm so fucking spooked. I think it would be cool if, like, near the end of the game, like right at the finale or something, you know, like after the final save room, or maybe like after the final few save rooms, you have like a chase scene with a monster, and then you escape into a safe room, and then you're like, oh, I'm safe. And then you're in there for like 20 seconds or so, maybe. And then the monster just breaks into the safe room. Ah, you're not safe. You'll never be safe again. That's what you think. But then, like, after that, safe rooms are just safe again. But it's like the one safe room that is not safe. And I feel like that would be cool and fun, you know? Also, thank you very much, Kiva Fox. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome to a new week. It is Tuesday, which is the second day of the week, in case you didn't know. And I'm way too fucking late today. I'm almost a full hour late with stream, which I do apologize for. I was very busy making a funny little voice acting shitpost again. I'll even let you guys listen to it because I'm so niceies. And also, like validation and such, you know? That's so evil. I love it. Maybe distort the usually calm sounding safe room music for it too. Maybe not the first time, or maybe the first time too. You make it like a little bit different, so the player is already like, hold on, is this different? Is the safe music different? And like from that point on, it'll just be stilted, even if nothing else is gonna happen anymore. You know? Shitposting is enrichment and important. So true. So right. All right. So beep. I made this shitpost today. Under communism, the waitstaff will not ask if Pepsi is okay. You will not even find out that it's Pepsi instead of Coke until you take your first sip. Unless you train like me to know the difference from the sound of the fizz alone. That is the only way we can beat communism. And I can teach you. Take my hand. Not like that, you grabbed the game. Stop. I said stop! Ta-da! I did that. That was me. I like doing a little bit, making little voice acting post. Why you? Thank you. Yeah, I just like doing stuff like that, you know? To be honest, Pepsi and Coke taste like exactly the same. Yeah, bad. They both taste bad is what they do. I don't like carbonated beverages or like carbonated soda or nothing. I don't like that shit. It's all just bad, you know? Never grab my hand, gay, unless I give you express permission. That is true. Agreed. I said stop. So I had fun. I like doing little voice acting things. Hey, if you're out there and you have a voice acting project and you would like someone to voice in it, I would love to do the voice acting for projects. I really would, you know? And I've got a good range, so, you know. Have the normal save room have quiet, subtle music, but the fake save room has no music. You won't realize it immediately. No, I feel like it shouldn't be no music. I feel like, I mean, maybe you wouldn't notice, but I think it would be even better if it did have music, but it was just a little off. A couple of the notes are just a little different. Maybe there's usually a sort of soothing hum and that's not there anymore, you know? Do it like that. I feel like that would be good. There's a tiny difference in flavor profile, but it's insignificant enough as to be pointless. Yeah, it is pointless because Coke and Pepsi and shit, it's all just gross. It's all pointless. I'm gonna make games one day and you'll definitely be one of the voice actors you get for it. Yay! Thank you. I appreciate that. I can vouch for her. She comes on my stream sometimes and plays the character of Zoe, and sometimes it's like she's really there. Yeah, but of course, you know, we all know that, you know, Zoe couldn't make it today. She died, sorry. I prefer root beer and orange soda and cream soda. I prefer orange juice and
Car battery!
and strawberry milk and rooibos tea and apple cider and I guess just multi-fruit juice, milk, chocolate milk, what are other things to drink that are good? Water. Water is just very good. Just some nice chilled water. Ooh, can't go wrong. So good. And that is it. I guess iced tea is kind of nice. I haven't had that in a while though. There was like a streak where I was just having a lot of iced tea, but I don't know, they got kind of bland. So now I just drink fruit juice a lot. Fruit juice is very good. I need to go back to drinking a lot of strawberry milk though, because my doctor is like, you need to get more calcium, baby. And I'm like, I gotta get more calcium, baby. But my brain's like fucking stupid dumb, and it's like, ooh, we've been buying strawberry milk for too long, so now we can't do it, you know? Autism, yeah. Did you grow up with soda? Yeah, I used to drink Fanta, and specifically this one, like, European not Fanta thing, but it's kind of like Fanta, but it's better. So I did grow up on Fanta, but I didn't drink it like all the time or anything, and I just grew out of it. I just don't like it anymore. Also, let's begin. Tilsdale, middle of the screen. Okay. Tilsdale in the middle of the screen. That's about here. Very good. You're mispronouncing Fanta. It is like Penta? I don't think it is. I don't believe that. I remember hearing nasty stuff about Coca-Cola as a company, but I don't know. Well, Coca-Cola is a corporation, and therefore it's bad. It is. Fanta. Fanta? Is that not what I was saying? Fanta? Was I saying Fanta? Fanta. Fanta is like how we pronounce it in the Netherlands anyway. I think I was just subconsciously... You were saying Fanta? I'm not saying Fanta. I'm saying Fanta with an A. Fanta. Fanta. I'm not saying Fanta. Fun. I guess they're almost the same. I guess you can't really tell the difference now that I think about it. But I also think it doesn't matter. Coke is the one that hired a paramilitary group to assassinate union leaders at their bottling plants one time. Excuse me? At least one time. God! Anyway, more reason not to drink any of that garbage soda. That is...
Egg.
Insane.
Egg.
That is like I completely believe it. That is insane. Did you enjoy your off days? Did I have off days? Didn't I stream on Sunday? I did. I just had yesterday, that was it. And it wasn't an off day. I was doing work that day as well. So I don't, I'm not very good at taking breaks. Should I say, did you have fun outside of streaming? I did. But I didn't really take breaks. I'm usually just working on things. And if I do not work on things, then it's because I'm procrastinating and I should be working. But I'm gonna try to take a break on Thursday. I'm gonna try to have Thursday as a not doing any sort of work day. I mean, that's not true. I want to draw because I have a drawing I want to finish so I can start a different drawing. You know, I'm fun like that. You know, I'm like one of those. I don't know if I would say workaholic per se, because it's because I am so bad. I get in those moods where I'm like bad at actually working on something when I want to be, that I'm either working or procrastinating when I want to be working because I want to be working because I'm procrastinating. Does that make sense? I think it does. I have to get ready for work. Bye, boss. Alright, good luck at work. Trade unions around the world have launched a boycott of Coca-Cola products, alleging that the company's locally owned bottlers in Colombia use illegal paramilitary groups to intimidate, threaten, and kill its workers. The unions claim Coca-Cola bottlers hired far-right militias of the United Self-Defense Force of Colombia to murder 9 union members at Colombian bottling plants in the past 13 years. That is insane. So, if you needed any more reason, aside from Coca-Cola tastes bad, to not drink it, or Fanta, or any of the other products, there you go. It is because they will literally have people killed for wanting, you know, basic wages and shit. Which is not surprising, but it is fucked up. So anyway, so it is Tuesday, it is a new week. I have 5 streams for you this week. What's my index finger doing? 5. 5 streams for you this week. No, it's totally fine, Kiva Fox. It's good for people to know, you know. And I mean, we are like the corporation hating channel here, so you're totally fine. We do have an anarchy symbol emote somewhere. 5. Although I think that one might be locked behind bits nowadays. I'm not sure. No, maybe not, because there it is. I've got 5 streams for you today. Today we'll be playing Gregory Horror Shell, which I kind of was hoping to like beat this stream originally. I thought it would only take me like 3 streams, but obviously me being me, that isn't gonna happen because I goof around and I go on tangents and whatever, you know? Oh, it's tier 1 sub. Alright, cool. That is not that much at all. Nice. That means a lot of people can use it. Power to the people and all that. Gregory Horror Shell. Then tomorrow I'm gonna be playing the spooky content in Escape Simulator together with my friends Luke and Noodle, who have been on the channel before, so you might know them. Friday we have got Sonic Superstars, together with Daya, who you might also know, who has also been on the channel before. I'm very excited. It's released today, but they didn't have time to play before Friday, so we have to wait. Saturday is Luigi's Mansion. And finally on Sunday, the 5th stream of the week, again 5, we're gonna be doing a Left 4 Dead collab with a bunch of friends, with Noodle, Rabbit, and Octacopi. So that's gonna be very fun. I love playing Left 4 Dead 2. That's like still just one of the best co-op games. It's just so funny, you know? And you know we're gonna be modded, so everything's gonna be funny memes and Pokemon and Wario is the boomer and all that kind of stuff, you know? So I'm excited for that. And I don't have anything else to say, so let's go play the game now. Let me just boot up my very real PS2. Eggs! You're right. Okay, it is time for the eggs before we get started with the game. So everybody remember, if you have but one little point, you can already redeem it to put your egg on the stick. And... And here we go! The first egg of the day comes to us from... Green Clunk! And then we've got a Dynalope! Polar Stars! A Tremtoa! I did that egg wrong. A Steamed Jester! Vex Fidel! Space Junk! Wait, how did I get here? Kira Cat! Dark Nitrolin! Rutsutera! Mecha VT! Mildly Cloudy! Ashley Miami! Wibblers! Whoa! Kiva Fox! Ow! Ow! Second X-Tech? Cumber Cake! Leopoldias! Oh, and that's it for now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it looks like there's also a Sippy redeem. There we go. Ghost story, you are placing the eggs and one of the eggs is a skull! And you are Zoe, I'd be like, oh, let's pour Yorick! And then I'd put him on there, you know? What a scary story. Launch the game. Wait until you guys can see it. Which should be any moment now. There we go. Oh, dab! Ooh, this is dab. Ooh, I'm dabbing. So, for those who are joining us for this stream series for the first time, this is a game about being stuck in a scary hotel. Oh, you're reading Sonic sticker on me? Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to look at that. About being stuck in a scary hotel with a bunch of weird guests, and all of them have stolen a soul from somewhere, and it is up to us to retrieve those souls and take them to death, who will then give us, will then bring us back to the land of the living. Stole them! Sonic sticker on me. Tilsdale on my crown. Okay. Hold on.
We here at Gregory House are committed to providing the kind of relaxation and
There we
peace
go.
of mind that will
Shut up,
make
Greg! Not your stream. I've come to a conclusion. Every Gregory house is personalized. What is personal about mine, then, Rutsutera? Also, yeah, I mean, within the fiction of the world, I don't know. I don't think every Gregory house is personalized. I think it is just the one Gregory house, but it it might like shift to the most recent gas to. Is that? I don't think they're coming this way. I don't know if... I'm pretty sure Cactus Gunman would come after us now. So, last episode we gathered we did some stuff, among which is getting the remote ready so that we can catch... We can use it to turn off TV Fish, who only appears at 8 a.m. on the 3rd floor of the basement, which is a while from now. Justel's coming down the hallway. That is scary. But that's still a while from now, like I said. So I think if we get a time fruit, we can pick how long, like what time we want it to be. So I think we're gonna try to get one of those and then go down to the 3rd floor of the basement. Oh, there's an item there. And then just skip to 1 a.m. or 8 a.m. Ooh! Oh, fuck. Okay, we already have a bunch of herbs. Do you say herbs or herbs? We also still need Hal's Chef's Soul, and I don't really remember how to get it. Yeah, he hates the fish. Why do you want to go to the 2nd floor specifically? That is not where the fish appears. Herbs is correct, but most people say herbs. I mean, I feel like there is not necessarily a correct, you know? Did I hear someone else? I don't think so. Based on a cartoon, I'd say cigarette. Maybe, but I don't know if that's a thing that we have. Maybe there was like a... if there was a... what do you call it? A fan or something we could blow out his candle?
Well...
what did I need again? Oh, right. Okay, it's sundries then. Fruit of time. It's only 2. So we can just exchange a yellow herb because we have multiple of those. Spoken H is the British way and therefore wrong. Yeah, I guess so. I'm sorry. Chef's scared of weed. Well, there's herbs all over the place, so that should be easy then. I'm sorry, Jody. I was just kidding. You know I love you. No, and I don't mean it. I'm crying constantly. I mean, because of all the onion. Apparently you can just eat raw onions. Apparently certain kinds of onions are actually kind of good and tasty. Oh, wait, over here. We'll put a yellow herb here and another one, I guess. Don't need this. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go... I'm gonna go get that book, and then we'll go down into the basement. I think this book we can just keep bringing to Judgment Boy and getting like hints on the current souls we should be collecting. Obviously we... What? Hey! Where did the book go? Well, that's annoying. I guess maybe that book only appears in certain times. I love you too, but it doesn't mean I don't also hate you. No, it does. I've decided it does. Or at the very least, they cancel each other out, so... Either you don't love me, or you do. Take your pick. Okay, let's see. Okay, nobody in the basement right now, so that's good. I remember this video of a kid wanting to eat an onion because they thought it was an apple. They kept biting, refusing to admit that they were wrong. It's a kind of stubbornness that I don't know if I should respect it, you know what I mean? No, I don't. I'm not gonna respect that, actually. You don't, like... Listen. Some hills are not worth dying on, kid. Either develop a taste for onion and just do it because you enjoy it, or admit you're in the wrong. Ooh, hey, I could add this music to the Spooky Yuki music playlist, couldn't I? I totally could. Also, I knew I'd get you, Jody. There was a pretty famous video in Australia of one of our prime ministers, the worst one, to be honest, taking a full-on bite out of a raw onion to make himself more relatable? What, because it's like also random? Weird. You a present. Hello. Hello. Banana. Thank you. What do you use banana? Wait. Oh, right. No, bananas, you eat them and then you get the banana peel and you throw that behind you to shake off pursuers, which I don't think I ever used in my first playthrough, except for like when you have to do it against Catherine. I wonder if that would work against Hell's Chef. Probably not. I feel like you have to do something with his cooking. Like when he's not in the kitchen, you do something. Woo! You do something with him or something, you know? Tilsdale over your face in the middle of the... Oh, my character's face. Okay, right. Oh man, we are being ooky and spooky. Tilsdale has taken over the character. Space Junk, I don't think that was a yawn. I think that was just me. A stretchy noise, but that was a yawn just now. Hint offering for chef's soul. What I give the banana to get the soul? To be fair, this isn't our body, right? This is the body that let us possess to do this, to do all this. That is correct, yes. Which is pretty interesting. Okay, now let's go ahead and use the Fruit of Time. Not what I thought that would do. That was not as useful as I had hoped. Wait. Wait. That's it! Why is it already here? I thought it only appeared at 8 a.m. Go! Kills you! Kills you! Kills you! I did it!
Hi.
What? Get the thing. Get it. Get the soul. Get the soul. Go. No. Did I get it? Okay. Okay, come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, there we go. Why didn't I want to pick it up at first? That was weird. Damn, that sure is, like, appropriately the most nerve-wracking as well. It's the only one that you, like, have to confront directly. You have to go up, I think, at least in my memory, you have to go up to TV Fish and shoot it, you know? The guilt of what you did to that poor fish kept you from picking that up. I mean, you know what? Kind of fair. I feel like TV Fish doesn't really do anything wrong, it just looks at people. Like, we don't know if it intentionally, if it chooses to show you your fading memories, you know? Oh, hi Bendy, enjoy your lurk. Thank you, thank you. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, it could be involuntary, I don't know. Oh shit. Wait, this isn't good. Okay, not chasing after us for some reason. Wait, maybe it doesn't. Maybe Roulette Boy is one of the ones that runs away from you. Okay, shit. Ow. Quiet, y'all. I'm trying to be sneaky here.
Car battery!
Jeez. Ow. Ow. Tapping to hope that he comes to look. Doesn't actually come in here. No, not the red. Fuck. Well, whatever. I wanted to do the green one. Where you going, roulette, bitch? Oh! Oh, hello. Oh, okay. Oh wait, there's an egg redeem icon. Did I not get all the eggs? Oh, I am missing 2 eggs. 2? 2 eggs? But I thought I got Leopoldus's. That means that I missed someone else's, in which case, I'm very sorry. But thank you very much, Fred Fox, and this other mystery person who I have so rudely forgotten about. I'm sorry. Okay. I guess let's see what these items are. Green. Reb. Queen. Ah! Drags infinite legs. Yep, that's chickens. That describes chickens pretty well, I think. In my experience. Oh, he's going to the base floor, okay. So then we'll just have to give chase and maybe catch him talking about his weakness to someone. Also, we should probably save considering we've gotten a soul. Let's see. Okay, so he's over there right now. So I'll go through the other door. Or the other stairway, rather. See, I know that sometimes he'll stand in like these rooms, and I feel like maybe I can catch him then. You know? Like maybe he'll like... Because he's all about gambling and board games and shit, so I feel like maybe if I catch him when he's at the board game place, he'll let me play in a, like, and if I win I get his soul. You know what I mean? Ooh, Catherine is up there right now. Should wait. She's right there. If she comes down the stairs, I'm gonna be fucked. But I don't think she will. I don't think she... What? I don't think Catherine would come down to the basement, you know? Didn't see you.
Oh my.
Feels like what? Okay, well, bye. Okay, should be... Oh, it's Gregory. Okay, hello. Okay. Sometimes it feels like somebody's watching me. I only know that song originally from a Gabe Newell parody. And I get no privacy. Shit. Ow.
Oh my.
Somehow it feels like there's a draft blowing in from somewhere. Maybe it's the storeroom on the first floor. Oh, of course. Okay, so we have to get Hell's Chef to the storeroom, because then the draft is gonna blow out his candle. There we go, 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 there we go. Thank you very much, Mummy Papa, you fucking idiot. Got him. Just like in the show, yeah. Oh, I'm so smart for figuring it out so fast. Tom Cardi did a version, so it's had a resurgence. Have I seen that version?
Save.
Heard that version? Save this game? Ribbit? I skipped it, I'm gonna listen to it again anyway, hold on a second. Oh, wait, talk.
Save this game.
This game?
Ribbit.
Ribbit? No, I'm good, thanks. Now we are tired, so let's go to bed. And we will not give TV Fish's soul. Hi. Kids has been a lot busier ever since Hell's Chef arrived. I hear Catherine's in there just about every day now. He gets in a terrible rage when someone messes with his pans. Anybody who doesn't mess with the pans will find Chef hot on their tail. Okay, so we're gonna have to mess with the pans. And then he's gonna be prowling around for us. And then when he's after us, we can get him into the storeroom. Shut up. Stop haunting us, ghosts from our past.
Come on now. Give it up. Throw away all them worries.
I'm so sad. I was looking for Death's music from the show, which is like really catchy, but sadly I could not find it. I still find it funny how Gregory is like
So,
the fortune teller's fortunes are 100% accurate, and then calls her crazy. Yeah, it's just like he's only
Shall I take it?
he only says that when it's not about him, I guess, when it's not something he wants to hear.
Good luck there, buddy!
Thanks, buddy. 3 a.m. A beautiful time to wake up. At night. Let's see what's going on in the map. Okay. Oh, Health Chef is in the basement. I didn't know he went there. Well, I guess we'll go mess with the pens now that he isn't there.
What are you doing?
Shut up. We're gonna do a prank. You wanna join? Alright, so this is the thing. The soup is bubbling hot. Should I put an item in the pot? Yes. Let's put a banana in, which is definitely not supposed to be there. Put a banana in the pot. It's starting to smell good. Oh. Wait, I don't want it to smell good though. We want it to smell bad. Just say to myself, alright. What would you put in the soup? Thanks, James. You're such a fun troublemaker in this game, unlike in the show, where you will literally plot to kill people. What if we put the lychee in? It's got an exotic taste. It doesn't smell so good anymore. I've got a bad feeling about this. Alright, okay, I think we just have to like keep putting things in it. You know? The mayor's underpants. I don't know if this place is a mayor.
Shoot.
He might be the most psychotic in the game, actually. The way that he'll really like go out of his way to be a massive problem. Okay, it's all this green. I don't know if herbs count. I guess we'll find out. Also, I keep switching between herbs and herbs. Neither of which really feels natural to me. So I just pick a different one every time. This is really such a good idea. Yeah. Yes, it is. The soup's getting pretty disgusting looking. Blood soup, blood soup, blood soup. I put green herb in the pot. Ugh, it really stinks now. Can I keep going? Recklessly, I put green herb in the pot. The chef's not gonna be happy about this. Wait, why is the fucking fish on the first floor now? Everybody was telling me that he only showed up on the third floor at 8 a.m. and now he's fucking, oh wait, maybe it's because I stole a soul. Although when we first found him, it wasn't 8 a.m. either, it was like 3 or 4 or some shit. Still, I guess he might be here now because it's like angry about me stealing the soul, you know? When are you getting Tilsdale's soul? We did it like at the end of the first stream. Tilsdale looked a little bit different, congrats on the transition, but you know. I guess now we just like have to wait for Hell's Chef to come back and check on the soup. Tales of the spirit of Tilsdale haunting the stream. The spirit of Tilsdale. Okay. We'll put him right over here in the top. flip him around. And then let's see. Can I do this? Does this work? Oh yes, the spirit of Tilsdale. There he is. Very good. Good job, me. You could. Although you might also find Guild Wars 2 Queen's Gauntlet things. But give it a try. Maybe the reason why James gets so bored all the time in this game is because he doesn't get many opportunities to plot your death. You're right. Poor kid. He doesn't get enough enrichment, you know? Okay, it looks like... Oh shit, he's gonna... Oh my god. Health Chef is gonna be coming up the stairs in a moment. I just want to put one more in. No turning back now. I put green herb in. What am I gonna do if the chef starts chasing me? Then we're gonna go into the storeroom, silly. No, not the right one! Fuck, I keep doing that. It's getting scary. I put red herb in. Alright, that's enough. No more messing around. Oh shit. Is he coming? Oh, he's coming. Oh my god, he's coming. I think this is the dining room. Okay. Okay, this is... I go with Gauntlet Queen, it's entirely you. Fuck yes! Nice, I did it! It's just me, baby! But it is pretty on brand if the Guild Wars 2 stuff shows up, that is true. Also, hi Torosel, how you doing? Oh, Lottie coming. Alright, okay. I'll go to the storeroom. Because I don't know if Hell Chef is just gonna come after me immediately, or he's just gonna be prowling for me, you know? Okay. Gotta walk a bit slowly so Catherine doesn't come out of the lounge. Trashman playing there. Oh yeah, okay, look, Hell Chef is on the prowl now, I think. Or maybe maybe he hasn't checked yet, maybe... Because I think... Yeah, I think at one point we were in the room and we were gonna go outside after sleeping, but then he was just there, standing at our door. I think that's what he's doing right now. So he hasn't even checked yet. He hasn't even seen the soup yet. In a way, I guess being chef's not so bad. This business with not moving when the flames go out. Whenever training got boring, I could put out the flame. And then say, my flame went out and I couldn't move.
I see.
So he's giving us a tip that we don't need anymore. Also, hello, Crimson Flesher, welcome. Ooh, that's a draft, alright. Just gotta wait for him to show up now. Judgment Boy says, this chef shit is easy. I could do this all day. Heard a door? Who that? Oh. Okay, yeah, so for now he's running away from me because he hasn't seen the soup yet. Which is interesting because I didn't know he would run away from me yet. Oh, that's a name. Amotophobia broke something. Thank you very much for following. Welcome. Where is he now? Okay. It's just going all the way around. So, actually, let's go save. Theory, Judgment Boy knew you were watching. He was directly talking to you. Honestly, I mean, he did seem to just sort of like shift between opening his eyes and closing his eyes as if he's like pretending to sleep and then checking, you know? So maybe. Save this game real quick. I guess we're just gonna have to wait for Hell's Chef to check the soup. If I remember correctly, then when he does, we'll actually get a cutscene for it. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Okay, Hell's Chef. So preparing the food. Time for a snack. Right, okay, that's when kids come in to have some food. I'm pretty sure he's in the kitchen more than just this one time. It's just the only time that we've checked on him. So let's go take a nap. I don't know if it's been long enough to get like a proper rest, but we'll find out.
Throw away all them worries.
Shut up, Death! I gotta get back to work.
Oh,
Yes, yes, but you can't have it yet.
oh.
I still need the
Take
bonus
it.
from it.
Egg.
Good luck there,
Egg.
buddy.
Mike loves rabbit. Thank you very much for the egg. Yeah, it's been too recent since we went to Sleepies. So let's see. Okay, it looks like Hell's Chef is almost about to do something else, which is probably still not preparing food, because if it was, then these would not be two different things, you know? But maybe it's something else in the kitchen, who knows? Oh, get this cursor out of the way. My PS2 cursor. I guess now all we can do is wait. Is it gonna be coming? Oh! Hell's Chef is in the dining room. That means he might go to the kitchen soon. I better go get ready to be chased into the storeroom. Oh, there he is. No, never mind. Who's that? Oh, that is him. What's he doing there? Why hasn't he fucking checked on the soup yet? The garden is safe. It's surrounded by walls. So there's no wind! No need to fear the wind! I'm invincible. I'm fucking invincible! You forgot the fucking soup! Okay, where you going now, bud? Also, I guess there's no wind here because it's like a courtyard kind of situation. So fair enough. But I need you to go into the fucking kitchen and check your stupid soup. Do we need to return the other souls? No, I just have to wait for him to check the soup. He just hasn't yet. Like, he's gone through the kitchen, but he hasn't checked the soup. Okay, it's just changed. The game is set up that you can capture 3 souls at a time every time. Okay, we got a book to read.
What are you doing?
Hi, James. So we're gonna go back into our room and read this book to pass the time and increase our mental gauge. I guess when you have a candle in your head, the wind must be pretty scary. Oh yeah, absolutely. I get it. Does he get mad when Gregory is in the kitchen? I don't know. I don't think Gregory ever goes into the kitchen. I think the only places Gregory ever goes are just like the foyer and the hallways. Wait, I should take a red herb with me. Hello, book. Oh, because he's a rat. I get it. But that's a bit, that would be a bit shitty of them to do, don't you think? That'd be a bit, prejudiced. Also, we still had a book to read. He doesn't have a nose, you see, so he doesn't know it sucks bad. I think he can see it sucks bad. God, he's still in the fucking garden? Read another one, I suppose. There we go.
Who's been
There we
messing
go.
with my pot?
There we go.
This is your doing, isn't it?
It is, correct.
Spoil my cooking, will you? I'll get you for this. I'll make you into a stew.
I think, you know, I think you need to stew for a bit. Perhaps in the storeroom? Okay, so he's just gonna be chasing me. And I think if I were to stay in the bedroom the entire time that that's happening, things would go badly. Because then I'll just, like, camp the door, probably. So I'm going to step outside and then see which way he's coming from. None so far. Okay, it looks like he's going to be coming through the dining room. Which is good. So I'm gonna go this way. Can I still save right now? I feel like I probably can't. Nope. I refuse to get involved, okay? Okay, go, 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 go. He's probably running faster than me, so I hope I can make it in time. Where's he going? Where's he going? Okay, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, we'll be okay. I think that was him. Wait, do you not know where I am? For some reason I thought he would just have a sixth sense to where I am, but I guess not. Well, time to just stand in the hallway, I guess. Huh. He just quickly runs through the halls in a blind rage, I guess. Yeah. That seems to be it. Will we watch season 3 after this or nah? I'd love to, obviously, but I actually think we might not. Because I've been quite busy today. So I feel like I might prefer to rest for the rest of the evening, you know? Oh, there he comes. Come on. Oh, okay, cutscene. There we go. Yay! We did it! Oh, what's happening?
Oh dear, the fire on his head's gone out again. times do I have to tell him not to come in here?
Maybe you should fix the window.
I presume this is your doing, yes? Chef stops moving when the fire on his head goes out. And when that happens, it's up to me to light the fire again.
Hey, that didn't
What a
match the
pain
dialogue.
in the future, would you be so kind as to refrain from teasing Chef?
Fine, fine. It's not like I'll have to again. Wait, no, don't turn it on now.
Come along, Chef. We're going.
Okay. Gregory's swear word? I hate drafts. I hate storerooms. All of them. I love that he then does just leave. He doesn't still try to kill us, he just leaves. I hate mandatory military service. I hate drafts. Raw final, they all suck. Those are good jokes. Alright, so that is all the souls for now, I believe. Oh no, Roulette Boy, fuck, I forgot. Well, I don't really know what to do about him, though. I guess we can just save right now and then, test out what happens if I approach him. Don't know who that was, I'm not gonna care. It's probably just Gregory. Yes, it was. I keep skipping the save this game ribbit, I feel so bad. I never did this back in the olden days.
Save this game? Ribbit?
I'm amazed Gregory didn't notice a soul on the ground. Honestly, yes. It's very surprising. We're all just pieces in a big chess game of fate. Should I introduce the other guests staying at this hotel? Actually, yes. I would love to hear a little bit about Roulette Boy. That boy has a roulette wheel built into his head. He's always looking for someone to cajole into playing roulette with him. If he manages to rope you in, you'll be forced to play a board game where your fate rests with each spin of the wheel. Okay. So is that good or bad? Do I want that? Gregory! Gregory, is that real? Too hasty to save this game, Rivet. Yeah. I need to... Oh. Okay. I need to appreciate my time in this haunted hotel more, you know? I can understand why the chef didn't grab it again because he was angry, but Gregory knows they have been taken by the guests. Yeah, it's... You feel like he would know, right? Catherine is over there. Where is she going? Okay, she's going the other direction. That's good. Because I want to go down the stairs. I love this. I love a shadow like this, you know? Ooh. A book! Judgment Day number 3. I don't think we've gotten any Judgment Day novels yet. Or comics, or whatever they are. Hearts? Do I want to know?
Huh?
Oh, that boy still hasn't found them. The poor thing. It's so sad that it just makes the food stick in my throat. Found what? What are we talking about here? Hi, James. There's all kinds of different squares. Oh. And it's shiny and cool looking and all. And there's lots of different kinds of roulette boards.
Shoot.
But it's closed right now, so what's the point? Okay, yeah, it sounds like... It sounds like we're gonna want to play Roulette's Red Boy's game. But I feel... Oh, shit, noise up there. I feel like we won't be always able to do that. He's talking about a casino. Yeah, I think Roulette Boy runs a casino. Okay, where's she gonna go? Up, I think? It looks like. Well, she sure is standing still. That room is closed. After eating my snack, I have to go and look again. Look? Did you lose something? Yeah, I lost something important. Something really important. Eat it all up. Good luck in your search. What? Oh wait, that's what Chef said. Okay, so Roulette Boy lost something. Presumably in one of the roulette rooms. If we find it, we might be able to trade it for a soul. You know, like the devil. So he's not in the roulette rooms right now. There are 3 of them. So let's go search them. And... But wait, I wasn't able to go in there, was I? I don't think so. Well, we can check now, but I'm pretty sure that this room is locked. Yep. Would you sign a deal with the devil, Zoe? I mean... I feel like there are souls that I could be persuaded to take. Let's look at that little robot. How cute. Either very, very amazing, incredible souls, or souls that either wishes that are really... Where does this go? Okay. Interesting. I think I know where that goes. But like, if it's like a very, benevolent wish, you know, that would help everyone out a lot. You know, like I wish for world peace. I'll sign this deal for world peace. But I don't think the devil would do that. You know? Or like, I wish for shapeshifting. Something like that, I don't know. I'm like easy bait for the devil, other anything if it means I get to be a cool demon girl afterwards. Hey, that's actually a good point. I feel like I could be like, okay, yeah, like in life, I get to do this cool stuff. And then when I come to hell, I'll like work for you. I'll become a demon girl who works for you, you know? And that's like that's the deal. I'd do that. I'd torture shitty people in hell, you know? As a cool demon girl. This is a very good point, Banshee Strikes. It's a very good way of looking at it. The queen went down to Gregory house looking for a soul to steal. As long as you get benefits. Of course I get benefits. I get to be a cool demon girl, and I get to torture shitty people. That's all you need, baby. Oh. Red boy's in the move. Okay, I gotta go. I'm stuck. Okay, there's two doors into that area now, or into that central room. So I just gotta keep an eye on where that boy is headed, and then I can escape through the other door. Bum, bum, bum. Oh. Right, he came through the other stairs. Okay. I think he's about to go into his roulette room. So we'll go take a look there once he is. Ow. I hope you realize that traditionally hell isn't fun for demons either. Yeah, but I don't subscribe to that belief. I think hell is very fun for the demons. And I think they're unionized, and I think they get to hang out. You know? Oh shit, he actually is coming this way. That's inconvenient. Turn around, turn around, turn around. Yes, okay, good. Oh, your dice. You're looking for dice. Did we see any dice anywhere? Were there dice in the store? I think maybe. I feel like we've seen dice. Fuck it, I got stuck on little debris on the floor. Also, we need to go to bed. Imagine dying and waking up in hell, and then you ask why you're there, and they say, "Oh, you're not here to be punished. You're the punishment." I'd be super excited. I'd be so happy and fun and yay, you know? I'd be excited to get to be a demon girl and punish people. I'd be excited, I'd be happy. One of the other cool trans demon girls probably found out how to install Linux on the Hellscape OS. Ribbit? They probably got games on there. Yeah, dude, Hell runs Doom. That's a very fun concept, actually. A demon girl playing Doom. When I have my demon girl alt, I gotta play Doom. Shit. Doom was a horror game from the demon's perspective. From the demons in the game, yes, but I feel like if you were a demon playing it, it would be more like a weird satire kind of deal. Playing Doom in Hell is a form of rebellious activity. Is it though? Because a lot of the world has branded Doom as satanistic, you know? I know it's not at all, but you know. I feel like Doom has reached a sort of middle point where it's neither anti-demon nor pro-demon. It's just kind of pro sick metal album covers, you know?
So you brought two of them.
No. Yes.
Good luck there, buddy.
Thank you. Pro free bird solo moment. Okay, not tired anymore. Very good. Wait, what's Neko Zombie doing? Oh! Ooh, block. What the mother? So, before we go.
Save this game. Ribbit.
A raid! A Beanie raid. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Beanie and all your viewers. I am Zoe Gala Queen. Actually, I'm currently Spectral Queen, but I'm always Zoe. And this is my channel where we're playing a Spooky Yuki horror game right now. But you actually caught us just as we were about to take a break. So I do apologize, but I'm gonna take a break because I have to do my ester gel, which is important. So, if yeah, we'll be taking a 20 or so minute break while I play some music. During this time, please remember to take your medicine if you have to. Make sure you stay hydrated, get some snackies, stretch your leggies, and we will be back to try to find Roulette Boy's dice so we can trade them for his soul, ? Okay, see you guys. See you guys in a bit.
Egg.
Ah! Wow! Hi everyone! Welcome back from the break. And Magatsu Drop, thank you very much for following. Damn. I had a break, let's go. Also, during the break, I downloaded the basement music real quick and added it to the spooky playlist. I don't know if you noticed.
Hi!
Hello. So, what are we doing again? Right, we have to find dice. So we are going to check the shop. Because I feel like it might be there. I kind of remember seeing dice over there. Oh, there's something. Okay, that is... Okay, the thing that we heard was just James, and the door we heard was... Whoa! We can see her on the second floor, that's fun. And it turns out ectoplasm is just estrogel. Yeah, I think it's just like a mistranslation, honestly, from ghost language. There's a kettle. Don't know what we could possibly use that for. But... no dice. Okay. No dice here then. In that case... I guess we'll just go talk to Roulette Boy.
Car battery!
Ah, ow. Hope you're having a fun time, Gauntlet. I just finished playing Sonic Superstars on my end. It was a blast. Wow. And it like released today. I hope you had a really good time with it. I'll be playing it on oh. What was that? Oh, it's just James. I'll be playing it myself on Friday. Ow. Galimim. Ow. Ew. Galimim, thank you very much for your egg. Thanks. Ow. I'm okay. I would play today, but I'm gonna be playing with my dear friend Daya, so I have to wait a little longer, you know? So we are...
You're stupid!
Jesus! We're gonna go down the stairs. We should start it on proper online co-op. I thought it did! I thought they said that it did have it now. That's annoying. Oh, I died! Oh no! Online versus mode co-op, offline mode. God, that's fucking stupid, dude. Why not? I mean, we're just gonna have to... We'll just be, you know, using Steam things, shared thing, but whatever. Oh, cool, I don't have to do anything. Hi, here I am again. Steam version requires you to have an Epic account? Why? Why? I mean, I do. But why? Now, why are they making it so suck? Yeah, why are they implementing all this stupid bullshit? Alright, what's he doing in there? Okay, I think he's through the big doors. I think either we won't be able to play it out because we don't have the dice, or something else maybe. Still can't find my dice. It looks like you're in this room. What if I dropped them while I was out for a walk? So they're somewhere in the basement then, I guess. That plus de nouveau? What's de nouveau? Eh. So what's with this stuff? Oh, it's open. It's also deep, we can see the bottom. Yeah, alright. De Nouveau is a shitty anti-pirate program that lags your PC to shit because it's awful. Ugh, why? It opens security holes? Oh my god. I hate that. Why? No, I'm like hoping that there might be some sort of workaround for that. I mean, if I'm gonna be doing like the Steam remote play thing, then like surely I wouldn't need it, right? You don't have a choice, it boots with the game and it's embedded in it. Fuck. Thankfully, Epic account is only required for online versus mode I heard. Well, I mean, that's less of a problem. I mean, it's still stupid, but I already have that, you know? And also you guys not. Well, fuck. Damn, dude. Why can't they just like make a fun game and just leave it and just let it be a fun game? They always gotta tag on a bunch of fucking bullshit that nobody gives a shit about and just makes the experience worse. Every single fucking time. I wonder when that boy set out for a walk if he meant like down here? Because I do see him walking around here a lot, and this is where I think he looks for his dice, right? Or if he meant outside in the courtyard. But then I would have found it by now, wouldn't I? Another game that is morally required to pirate. Yep. Sadly, I did purchase it. You guys helped pay for it so that I could... so that me and Daya would be able to play it online. But now it turns out that the online is only the fucking versus mode, so it doesn't even got that matter. I don't think that's funny at all. Unfortunately, I think the only de nouveau hacker might be transphobic. You fucking kidding me? Kill him! Replace him with one of our own. Wait, huh? But his hole goes down. Well, how does that work?
Egg.
Egg. The gay Avery, thank you very much for your egg. Oh, a head for Derek was redeemed at some point. I'm so sorry. I did not notice. Ribbon Skull, thank you for your egg as well. Oh, and a sippy, I'll take that in a moment. First, let me just get a little head for Derek. We'll give, this one, because I think it's funny how wide it is. From Rayman 3. And then I'll take a sip. Thank you. Yeah. Apparently the quit game button doesn't work and opens the manual instead until you alt F4. Also, the nouveau means it doesn't ever end the process until you shut your PC down completely. Jesus Christ, dude. Why is this... Why? Why did they fuck it up so bad? Also, where does this hole go? We're already into bottom floor. I'm gonna keep looking around a little bit to see if I can find the dice, but after that we're jumping down there because I definitely want to see what's down there. Didn't encounter that, didn't happen on my end. Perhaps it only happens for some people or sometimes. What's the current topic? The current topic is that... Oh! Key item dice. Okay, well that was easy then. We're currently talking about that Sonic Superstars is apparently kind of a mess. Like they added a bunch of stupid bullshit. Even the Steam version needs to have an Epic account to play online, or just in general apparently. It only has online multiplayer for the versus mode, and the story mode can only be played in local multiplayer, which is fucking stupid. And it has some absolutely garbage anti-piracy software built in that is just bad in every way. So that's cool. Multiple people are saying it's happening for them, so... Well, it must depend on something, you know? Some people it does happen to, sometimes some people it doesn't, I guess. I hope that there's a fix for all this by Friday. I just got done being... Oh! Okay, we end up here somehow. Sure. And Roulette Boy is walking around there now. But we have the dice, so maybe we can talk to him. Let's go save. I just got done being a silly little friend who knows you were alive because I didn't forget the date. It's okay, welcome. Remember when games were allowed to be fun? Yeah, why do you think I played so many retro games?
Save this game, Ribbit.
Okay, thank you very much for your egg, as well as hello. Well, we have to die. Boy, this escalated quickly. I mean, we had to die in order to be here, I suppose. Not entirely untrue. Okay, so he's just roaming around down there now, so let's go talk. Ooh! Oh, I forgot to do egg. Well, here you go. Melon Goddess, thank you very much as well. Oh, TV fish is out there too. And I still have their soul. Dun 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 dun. This game has a great footstep sound. It really does. It's so nice and poppy. It really pops. By the way, playing Pokemon Y, and they did not need to make the 3D if it goes so hard on Pokemon. Oh, I wouldn't know. I played it in 2D. I played everything in 2D. But that's good. I can't believe you don't remember me. You've always been such a cold person. Now that is not the TV fish talking. That is someone from our memories who we are forgetting. So that's fun. Okay, now that should be the sound of Roulette Boy. There we go. It's gone, it's gone. I can't find it anywhere. This dice is my biggest treasure. Well, I've got great news for you, kid, because I have it. Hey, Roulette Boy. My dice! Yeah, your dice! I got it for you. Hey, you got something great today! Do you want to play with me? Come on, let's play together! Well, I have no choice, I guess. And I do have your dice, so...
No!
Hi, Greg! Are you here to play a Gregory board game with us? So yeah, I think he usually runs away unless you have his dice, and then he'll talk to you. So we have to play the board game and win, presumably. Do you want me to explain Hell's Roulette to you? Yes, please. Here are the rules for the board game of Hell. Okay. Spin the roulette wheel and get to the goal before your opponent. If your opponent gets there first, or your mental gauge reaches 0, you lose. If you find an item ball along the way, I'll give you an item that you can only use here. Even if you land on a white square, you might get lucky and win a bonus item. You can use items by choosing item before you spin the wheel. You can only have 3. Wow! My head's spinning! I just already started by saying wow, that was perfect. You can only have 3 at a time, so think very carefully about what you want to have. No, I don't have to hear that again, thanks. It's Gregory party, baby. We'll spin the wheel to see who goes first. Now Zoe will spin the wheel. There should be a real roulette board game. There is not a real roulette board game, but there is a real Gregory Horror Show board game, and I have it, and it collectible figures and stuff that you can use that do different things. Like it's like everybody is sort of everybody controls Gregory, who is trying to get to one of several places depending on like everybody tries to get Gregory to a different point in the house, and they can summon residents to like hinder each other or help themselves and stuff. It's very fun. Tico rotation too strong. Yeah, I'm just so strong, you know? Ooh. With 2,000 skibbity toilet Gregories. Yeah, I have way too many toilet kids, which... Not my favorite Gregory Horror Show character. I don't think that one's in the game, which I'm very thankful for. You know? Don't lie. What do you mean, don't lie? He's not my favorite. I don't like that character. This is the torment, waiting for this wheel to stop. This is the real horror, you know? This is real Gregory horror. Anyway, okay, I'll go. Toilet Baby is great. No, he's not. He sucks. Damn, Gregory, your spin was fucking weak as shit compared to mine. I go first. God, I forgot that it's like just a whole fucking board game minigame in here. Well, I don't think I have any items yet, do I? Oh, I have a green herb. Okay, well, I guess I'll use that. No, I'll rule that, I think, for now. Should have come in here with more mental gauge, though. Yeah, we have to wait for the proper RNG to get the maximum possible roll. That's correct, yes. Aw, only a 2?
Go forward 2 squares.
What? No!
Here's a present for ya.
Oh wait, there's a counter.
Nothing happened.
Oh? Oh, it's above his head.
Hurry up and spin me.
Put the tilts on the Gregory icon. I don't want to see this rat.
Go forward 1 square.
Oh good, he rolled a 1. That's good.
Hurry up and spin me.
Oh wait, he gets to go again? No, bad. We do not get to see this rat. We are lucky.
Forward 7 squares.
Yeah, these are not squares
Watch
also, you're right,
yourself
they're
now.
circles. Damn, he rolled so fucking good. How can I ever catch up?
Hurry up and spin me.
Well, not bad.
Forward 5 squares.
Please, don't come any closer.
I wonder what happens if we lose. I should probably use my green herb as well. Greg has a health bar, that means he can die. I think Roulette Boy is just kind of a rambunctious kid and that's it.
Here's a present for ya. Hurry up and spin me.
What the hell? This feels so fucking rigged, dude. He's just getting all the best shit. Except for the time that I blew him up, but it doesn't seem to have harmed him much.
Hurry up and spin me.
Okay, nice. I think I can actually time it.
8 squares.
Imagine if a Resident Evil zombie was like, okay, here, play a board game. I think that would be fun. I think I'd have fun. Okay, here we go.
Spin me.
Now we're doing good. Oh yeah, I've still got the timing down.
Go forward 8
We're gonna win now. We're gonna win. I've got the timing down. I have to like stop the spin when it's at the 6, and then it'll land on 7 or 8. Oh,
The lucky number
hey! Oh, cool. Has to sit out his turn. Perfect. Nice. This is very fun and silly. Yeah, I like this. This is fun. It's not very horror, but it is funny. I like the idea of being able to rob Gregory. Can we, like... Does he have any items to steal? Ooh, he does. He has a very good item to steal.
Please don't do this.
Oh, I already used an item. Alright.
Hurry up and spin me.
Oh no, the timing didn't work this time. Oh well, 6 is still very good.
6 squares. Here's a present for you.
Oh, an item. Okay, good. W up. I don't know what that means.
Here's
Oh.
a present for ya.
But wait, it goes on Gregory. It just goes on fucking Gregory again. Awesome. Roulette Boy's fear, I think it's just gambling.
Hurry up and spin me. Go forward 7
I got the
squares.
whip card. We're so fucking back. Fear of spinning. Yee. Oh no, he has a steel card.
It couldn't be.
Bye-bye.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, get fucked, Greg. Nice. Alright, we'll use the red herb green tea thingy, whatever.
Hurry up and spin me.
7. Oh, hey, we made it! Yay! Yippee!
Here's a present for ya.
Oh, thanks. I don't think I'm gonna need it, but thank you! Yay! Yippee! Yippee! Yay! Yahoo! I did it! I'm the winner! One of the few times that a character gets to look happy. Thank you!
Good job.
Good job! And now Gregory dies. He's executed in my honor. I suppose you win! Here, I'll leave you my soul. Normal presents to give. I'm the superstar! Yippee! From now on, you can play roulette anytime you come downstairs to the roulette room. But I have to get ready, so just wait a little bit longer, okay? If you win at roulette, you can get all sorts of prizes. Good luck!
Present for ya.
As thanks for playing with me, you can have that dice. Take good care of it.
Spin me again.
Let's play again next time we meet. See you then. Bye bye. So it was like his most precious possession, yet he gives me the dice. I wonder what for. Anyway, oh my god, hey, wait, look. Look at, right over here. It's Neko Zombie. They're on the second floor. They have non-binary swag on the second floor, or first floor, or whatever you want to call it. So in that game, Gregory got crushed, exploded, and had to return to start. It's very funny. At the beginning, we were like, "Oh man, this shit's rigged," but now, but then it turned out to not be that at all. Non-binaries. Non-binary swag on the second floor? Unheard of. It's very risky, but, you know, it's very powerful if you can pull it off. Okay, it looks like they're returning to their room right now. What a shame, I would have liked to see what they... Hi, Greg. Hey, Greg, remember we totally stomped you at that board game? Motherfucker, bitch, idiot, huh? 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 Can't roll dice? Huh? Dumbass? Huh? Dipshit? Yeah, I didn't think so. James is sleeping? What's James dreaming about? I guess it doesn't really matter right now what anybody else says. Oh yeah, he's just talking about that you can douse Hell Chef's flame. It was rigged in our favor! Still flipping the red. You know, I mean, he sucks though. He's keeping us here against our will. I deserve this. And now that we have all 3 of the souls, we can give him to death and start the final night. I think.
Come on now. Give it up. Throw away all them worries. Oh, it's you. Did you manage to pick up any souls?
I did.
Whoa! You brought 3 of them for me. Hey, of course I'll take it.
Yep.
Hey, thanks a lot. Here, I'll stamp your card for you.
Thanks.
Hey, you don't look so good. Here, this'll fix you right up.
Thanks, Death.
Well, would you look at that? While we've been here jabbering, a whole bunch of new guests
got
moved
something,
in.
and they got souls too.
Good luck there, buddy!
I love it when Death is depicted as a chill entity. Death isn't a villain. No, yeah, I really like a Death like that. It's nice. I love you, New Yorker, Swedish Death. We love you. Where the road leads. I love that she's called Gregory Mama. It makes no sense.
Mama!
It's so silly.
What did you do
Like, is
with
Gregory
my
called
soul?
Gregory House? Gregory Son?
Please
Gregory
forgive
Guy?
me, Mama. The truth is...
You did what? You let the guests get a hold of my souls?
Please forgive me. I was only away for a minute.
Enough of your excuses. Stop dallying and get them back.
Yeah, you screeching old banshee.
What was that?
Nothing, Mama. I'll get those souls back right away.
Oh, look at them, Gregory, my beautiful souls. The secret of my beauty. We mustn't let them get away, mustn't we, Gregory?
Why does she have... She's got a lip marking on her own cheek. Diversity win? The evil true villain of this story is gay?
It's hard work trying to keep Mama happy every day.
I think his mom lives with him.
It's the guest's fault that I get yelled at every day. But even so,
Gregory gets 2 moms?
Mama will have herself a new victim soon enough.
Diversity win. Gregory has 2 moms. No, she drew it onto her own face to pretend like she'd been kissed. That honestly seems more likely, if I'm gonna be honest. Alright, Gregory, you're having a lot of fun, I get it. Jeez. That is a bit of an unnerving painting, I will admit. Oh, it's Clockmaster,
I'll send
as well
you
as
back in time.
Oh boy!
my son.
Is
And he's called My Son, and that is so funny.
Just this once, okay? Just this once.
Oh, I do a sneezy. Add it to the counter. I'll send you back in time to play the games that suck ass. Okay, we consider the mom is kissing the lizard girl. No, I mean, they're both shitty, but you know. Also, thank you, chat. The funny doggo, the evil funny doggo. Alright, let's see, where are they? One of them is in the storeroom right now. Oh, and Angel Dog must be in Neko Zombie's room. And also someone is in the lounge, or the whatever you want to call it, bar. Probably shouldn't have just walked out the door without checking first. But it looks like it's okay. Do you think James ever spends time with his great-grandma? In the show, he does.
Save this game.
A little bit. Ribbit? So I have to assume he does here as well. Angel Dog is in Neko Zombie's room, alright. They were playing tic-tac-toe. How nice. I wonder what would happen if I went in there right now. First, let's see what they're talking about. Here's an interesting bit of gossip. You know the boy that fixes the clock? Well, I heard that the screwdriver that boy carries around was a present from his papa. That's nice. If that screwdriver were ever stolen, his papa would lose his temper and use some kind of strange technique. Ooh, okay. Not only that, but when his papa uses that technique, he breaks down and can't move, the poor dear. Ah. Isn't that sweet? That father must love his son so much. Are you sure you even know what a father's love is like? Why are you, like, in Neko Zombie's room? What happens if I go in? I assume she'll disappear.
Honestly, how
Yep. Alright, bye. Well, I believe someone was in the storage, which is where the clock is. This angel dog displays fatherless behavior. And thank you, Polar Stars, for the sippy. So let's go into the storeroom and see what's over there. Or at least let's go up to it and peek before going in. Although the hour is about to change, so maybe he'll come outside. Worried about Daddy. When Daddy loses his temper, he uses his time-stopping technique. And breaks down. I hope he's okay. If that happens, I'll be in big trouble. Ah, you have the soul. So, we're gonna... So we are... Okay, we are going to... put his father out of commission so that we can bully him into giving us the soul. Good morals from this game. Let's see what happens if we go inside, because we need to get that... Hello. Hi. Who are you? So your name is Zoe, huh? My name is my son. His name is just my son. It's so fucking funny. Imagine being named my child. That is your name, my child. Fucking stupid, dude. That's so good. Don't speak to me or my son ever again. I think that's where the joke comes from originally. His dad's... Her name is my daughter and she's every mental illness. I'm fucked up. His dad said, "You're my son," and he took it literally. It's a logical extension of being called Junior. I suppose so. It is kind of like that. My name is my son. Nice to meet you. My daddy is teaching me how to find time warps. My daddy? His name is Clockmaster. He's the great and powerful master of time. He's strong, but he's really nice too. I want to be just like him when I grow up. Well, that's nice. Now I feel a little bit bad. Oh, book? Oh wait, that's just a porno. Yeah. That's just a porno again, so we can get rid of Gregory if we need it. So... You say you want this soul? You can't have it. This soul is really valuable. Daddy said I have to take really good care of it and not lose it, so I can't give it to you. I'm sorry. I said you can't have it. I really can't give you the soul. I know. If I give it to you, Daddy would get really angry with me. The soul is the second most valuable thing I have, after my screwdriver. That's nice. Now I feel a little bit bad. Kills the kid. I'm not killing the kid yet. But... Right, okay. I cannot get the screwdriver from here. So I guess I have to wait until he's doing something else. Why does my son have a bloody nose? I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like... I think it's because it's a horror thing, so there's some blood. And because it's like the... You know, you have like those weights that are like in a big clock, you know? I think it's supposed to be like that. Also, congrats on the eyebrow. Nice job. Oh, you're not coming this way, are you? Okay, no. Just because his son's screwdriver was stolen, he loses his temper. What a cranky old man. And when he loses his temper, time stops, just like that. And when he uses his time-stopping technique, he breaks down. So what's gonna happen I assume he'll be broken down for a little bit after he uses the technique, but what about us? Will we be stopped for a while? For any clock hands, maybe, yeah, because clock hands, master's hands are his mustache. That is a good point. I think you might be right about that. Oh, we need to go up the stairs. Oh, someone, people, scary, door. Ooh, okay, it's lost dull. We'll have to go around. Oh shit. Okay. We're fine. Why is there... Well... Oh, right. Why is there a medieval castle tower? I mean, I think I know. I think that's where Gregory mom resides. Because we keep seeing Gregory go through these, like, ancient cobblestone tunnels and stuff. But it is funny. Yeah, you can... I always forget that you can look down from the bridge myself as well. Looks like my son is going to his father. Oh, who is asleep. Probably drunk himself into a stupor.
Daddy!
We're just normal men.
Ah, what do you mean, normal men?
Oh, we're just innocent men.
Just innocent men. I'm getting too old for this. Even something as simple as this. Daddy, you're the master of time. Don't start giving up now.
Yes, you're right. I am the master of time.
Oh shit. Okay, I think that was just Gregory. Okay, let's go back in. And listen to the conversation again.
Oh, what?
Oh, my son, my son.
The first my son was his name. Oh.
Forgive me, my son. I'm such a burden to you.
Okay. Let's see if he is hostile to me. Probably not. Nope, seems like he's fine. Hello.
Oh, what?
Ow.
What have we here? I don't believe we've met, young one. I am
Ow.
I am Clockmaster, the great and powerful master of time. Oh my! Now that I look at you closely, you seem to be caught in a time warp.
Where am I?
I say, this is one of the biggest I've ever seen. Well, then I'll fix you up using my special technique. Time is money. What, you don't need it? Well, if you change your mind, just come and see me again.
And that is, I think, how they explain that, like, we keep being on, we're like on the first, second, third, fourth night. But we keep going to bed, but like, you know, it doesn't actually change anything. And like, people have the exact same routine every day. I feel like that's because we're caught in a time warp, which I think is cute, you know? That they explain it like that. Also, yes, Clockmaster's lipstick and lash are on point. He's looking so good.
Well, if you change your mind, just come and see me again.
Okay. I'm just gonna follow you guys around for a bit. See where you're gonna go. Also, you guys are like nice. Just like nice. You don't even seem that weird. Like, honestly, I think Clockmaster and my son are the most normal people. Except Neko Zombie, I suppose. In the entire hotel. Do I still have to go this way? Yes, because I have to go to the storeroom anyway. What is happening? Who's after me? Oh fuck, it's Chef. Oh god. Is he still after me? Oh.
Car battery!
Ow. Okay, I guess Chef didn't want to chase me that long.
Sega!
Ew. You could say his makeup is on point around the clock. Padum-tsh. Heh. Shit, I think he's coming this way again. Sure is. Okay. Seems he's just like stalking this one part of the hallway. So I'll have to go the other way around to get to the storeroom. That's fine, then we can make our way past the save point. Also, sanity's a little bit low. I'll have a little green herb around it, about it. And while we're here, we'll go put this book in the bookcase. And wonder if I haven't read it already. Because if I haven't, then we can. I don't think we have read that one.
Egg.
Get that egg in a moment. Caperina, whoa, yeah, mambaleo, mambalina. Caperina, caperina, whoa, yeah, mambaleo, mambalina. Damon Dullahan, thank you very much for the egg. Woo, yeah. Who's that? Now you're over here? God. You're such an inconvenient, Hell Chef. If I put all the souls in that room, no doubt it would make a delicious soup. Can you not stand here? But I can't. Those souls belong to Gregory Mama. Too bad I can't do anything about it. You fucking creep. We met in Caipirinha, but it was a skeleton. I would love that. I like a skeleton. You know, I mean, I know we have the joke that I'm very easily scared by skeletons, but actually, I think skeletons are very fun. I like a skeleton girl, you know? He's waiting for you, Zoe. He knows you're in there. I know. I mean, it's honestly not that different from what I'm doing. I'm also just eavesdropping on people and stuff, you know? Skeleton Yuri! Yay!
Save
this game. Ribbit. Trying not to redeem anything. Gotta save up after I spent my life savings on vector stickers last time. Yeah, you gotta make sure you've got enough points for eggs every stream, you know? Okay, there's a lot of people in the mummy dog's room right now. But my son is in the library, which means I should have ample time to see if his toolkit is just still in storage. Skeleton Yuri is when archaeologists dig up a pair of very close friends. You're so right. It is still here, and... What? Saddest story ever. You tried to kiss skeleton girlfriend, but she has no lips. Oh no, I never thought about it like that. That is sad. That's big sad. Well, life goes on, or not, I guess, when you're a skeleton. So we have the screwdriver now. Okay, so what's gonna happen is we're gonna have the screwdriver, we're gonna go to Clockmaster, He's gonna get angry that we have the screwdriver. He's gonna use time stop. I don't know what'll happen. But I think if we go into his room where only he is, it won't really do anything. It'll just last a little bit and then it'll fade. It'll pass. We can move again. He'll be broken down. We can steal. Wait. Right, and then we have to go to my son. And then because his father won't be there, we can steal the soul. I think. Or should we go to him first, to my son first, so that he like gets his dad and then they're together? I feel like that might be better because then there'll be more time. Haha, no pun intended. Between like Clockmaster breaking down and us getting to my son. I think we'll do that. Also, yeah, even if your skeleton GF doesn't have lipstick kids, you can still... She can still be your skeleton GF and you can still hold her hand and snuggle. And you can kiss her, that is true. She just can't kiss you back. Hello. Ah, I got your screwdriver.
Hey, that's my screwdriver, so you took it, huh? Give it back.
How did you know it was stolen? Do you have some sort of
That kid took my
special
screwdriver.
sense?
Go teach the brat a lesson.
What?
Oh, he gets summoned. That makes sense.
You little cretin! I'll teach you to pick
That's
on
not what
my
it says.
son.
Oh. Oh, we are having a horror show about it.
Picks on
Okay.
my son, not without a whooping.
That's showing them, Daddy.
I'm sorry about this. This is the only way for me to go back to the living and all that, you know? Sorry. Oh, I think he died. It looks like time has jumped forward 7 hours. And we're angry. So is he broken down now? Where is he? He doesn't look very broken down at all. Well, I guess we'll go... Oh my god, oh, she's going up the stairs and not down. She's going... Oh no. I think I just fucked myself. No? Okay, I guess we're good. So we're gonna try to talk to my son again and see if we can take the soul now. He's in the storeroom again. Shit. Oh, I get pet. You scared me with the pet Num Ramen, but thank you. Wah. Wait. Wah. Wait. No. Sure. Wah. Okay, I need her to pass. Don't think we'll be able to hear most of the dialogue. Nope. Like, if that was not what we were supposed to do... Like... I think this is Catherine leaving again. If we weren't supposed to get caught... Then I'm not sure... I mean, you need to talk about, like, time stop, not time moving forward. He's scared of Catherine, that's good. As you should be. Thanks. I'm gonna steal your soul now, if the game allows it. Hello. Hi again, what's wrong? You want this soul? Hey, why aren't you... Did you forget? Did you forget that stuff that I did? Okay. I guess you forgot that I stole your screwdriver intentionally. I know I felt bad about it, but it's still something I did. Maybe you did forget time loop and all? Shit. I mean, I don't think the time loop has reset yet. I'm also not sure if the time loop works quite like that. I'm gonna go in here, because I'm pretty sure there's some items here. Oh, nice. Ha! I knew it. Hello. Okay, bye! I've always thought of it more that the inhabitants of Gregory House are quasi-immortal and have awful memories and rigid routines as a result. Hi. I'm not after your soul right now. I will be, but not right now. I'm occupied. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm gonna... yeah. I might have been able to escape them. I should have gone to the basement. That would have been fine. If I had gone to the basement, it would have worked. Maybe if I had gone into the lounge room, I could have duped them, but trying to run past them definitely wouldn't have worked. I don't need the special meds. I have died. Oh, I hate the fucking pill. Oh, and Hell's Chef is in the hallway to my room too. Wait, is... James, what are you doing in Neko Zombie's room? Get out of here, you old jerk. Yeah, I big died. Oh shit. Oh, it's Neko Zombie. But over there is Catherine, who is going in the opposite direction, so it's fine. Hey, Neko Zombie! Nice to see you out of your room. Watching the hands move on a clock always gets me thinking, like, what if one day the hands just stop moving? You know, I heard once that there's actually a way to do it. Just in case you were wondering. I'm not talking about taking the batteries out. Shit, no! You already just got me! Okay, basement. Is basement safe? Basement's safe. Oh my god, it's coming after me down here. Okay. We're good. Whew. Take your estrogen. I did! I did take my estrogen. I didn't forget. We took a break for it. Zoe, if you had a horror show when you catch someone, what would you do? What would I do? Something scary. Because my first instinct is just to punch, but that's not really like a horror thing, you know? That's not like getting drugged or getting syringed or anything like that, you know? Or seeing the fading memories of your loved ones. So what's something scary I could do? I feel like well, I'm Spectral Queen right now. So I think what I would do is possess them and then just keep making them punch themselves and go like, why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching yourself? You know? I think that's what I would do. If we go up right now, Roulette Boy is there. Roulette Boy is nice to us. I think. I hope. I guess we're gonna find out. What would each queen do? Well, Coral Queen would probably just like drown you. It's like, come on, let's go swimming, and then she would just fill the room with water and you would drown. Broadcast Queen would I think just be scary and looming, and then you would lose yourself in the static on her face, you know? But Gauntlet Queen, I don't know. Oh, Blood Boy's coming down, so we'll just wait a little bit. I think Broadcast Queen and TV Fish would get along. What? Wait, why are you going up again? Come to the garden. I had like... My character got like startled, so that suggests that he's not nice to me right now. Maybe if I'm fast enough in the garden I can get past them? I should have looked through the keyhole first. Oh no! Oh god. Oh no! I'm running the wrong way too! This is so fucking inconvenient! No! No 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 no! This is big sucks! Shit 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 shit. Oh, I think she fell over or something. Everyone is so fucking evil here. Everybody wants a piece of me. This is fucked up, dude. Damn. Okay. I can't go in the garden right now because a bunch of the kids are playing in the garden and at least 2 of them have it out for me, so I have to just wait for Catherine to leave again. I'm giving Gregory House a 1 star on Yelp. Same. The staff was completely unable to keep the other guests and some of the staff in check. There's a max amount of U-boat barrages? Oh yeah, I think per person. I think I put that in at some point. Sorry. Okay, they gotta... Oh my gosh! Oh, okay. Once per person per stream. Per person? Surely not. I wouldn't have made it that limited, would I? Hell, Chef is talking with Gregory. I have to take the stairs, I think, maybe. Maybe I could take the stairs before he gets me. But no, he'll probably see me and then chase me upstairs. That one really liked me. The one that's stuck on my head. I just ruined it now. It says I've hit the max. Well, that's no good. I should definitely increase that at some point. After the stream. How long have I been going anyway? A normal amount. Ish. I'd really like to get my son's soul before we stop. But we'll see. Okay, I really think we have to... Shit. She's probably not gonna turn around, is she? Up the stairs we go! Go, 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 go. Okay. Okay, alright. Shit. Okay, we can go down now. Who's that? Oh, it's James. Hi, James.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna go to bed. Fuck you. Bye. Anytime Catherine tries to take the blood of the queens, they just punch her through a wall. Correct. So true. Actually, Broadcast Queen flicks her, and that causes her to get teleported. That's an ability that Broadcast Queen has that she has displayed in her debut video, but it doesn't come up that often. She turns you into static and then you get teleported somewhere else. Oh, I am being weird. Okay, there we go. I'm fixed. The average amount of streaming each person does is 0 minutes. Going for nearly 3 hours is not a normal amount. It's not an average amount, but is average and normal the same? Much to consider. Also, my son is in the storage room again. I think we have something to read, do we? Oh, we do. Nice. Cool. Okay, my son is no longer there, but now the fucking Hell Chef is... Damn, it's like the difficulty of this game has ramped up as time went on. As we got further into the game. That is so crazy. Hello, fucko. It is very ghosty when Whisker does that. That is true. George Queen streams 10,000 hours a day. She's an outlier and should not be counted. Exactly. More people and they're all fucking mad at me. What's that? That's Greg. I gotta say, like, even though I've read a lot of books, I feel, mental gauge still goes down quite quickly, doesn't it? You can still see him there. Okay. Hi, Greg.
Save
this game. Ribbit. Save the game. And now, of course, Chef is in the way of the storeroom, so I'll go up the stairs. I wonder if like time stops while you're inside the safe rooms, because like you can't peek out of them either, which sort of seems to suggest that is because it is a completely safe room, but not like your bedroom is safe. You know, like you're never gonna get into any kind. I think she's walking. So I feel like maybe guests just always stay in the same location when... Okay, please don't come through the door. You're gonna come through the door, aren't you? No, maybe not. Okay, we're fine. That poor old clock, that poor old clock. Breaking down, losing his screw. Okay, can I carefully? Okay, I cannot slowly open it. Ow! Doesn't seem like I can get through there safely without Losdell knowing. That's a bit inconvenient. Then what do I do? I mean, Health Chef isn't in the way right now of the storeroom, so I guess I just have to wait him out until he's like in the lower right of the hallways. Or I could go to those stairs over there, and they'll go down, and then like go up here when he's like not in this hallway, which he is right now, but he's moving away from it right now, so that's probably my best bet. So that is this way. And then we'll get the screwdriver again and it will save, so that if I fuck up again, then we don't have to go through the trouble of trying to steal it again. And then we'll go to my son first instead of Clockmaster. No, wait, that's what I did. Oop. Okay, that's Hell Chef coming through that door. Go through this door and see where he goes. Anyway, we're gonna go talk to Clockmaster first, and then he should just like break down, I guess, instead of the horror show that we got when we talked to my son. He breaks down, then we go to my son. My son calls for his father. That's what'll happen. He'll call for his father. His father doesn't show up, and then he'll get really scared, drop the soul, and then run away. That's what's gonna happen, I think. Yes. Okay, so where is Hell Chef now? Okay. So, if we hurry up, we should be able to make it to the storeroom before Hell Chef makes it there. Yes, slowly. Oh god, she's walking. No, why are you walking right now? God damn it! Shit. Oh, okay, he was just going. Gunman was just going downstairs, that's okay. she was just going to the infirmary. I thought she was coming my way. And I assume Cactus Gunman is also going to the infirmary right now. The fact that he's not walking, I don't hear him walking, means he went through the door, so yes he is. Because he often goes into the infirmary to talk with Catherine. Slowly. Oh, where's House Chef? I can hide in a room. I think until... Because I think House Chef is coming this way right now. Yes, I will hide in the lounge. It's getting very hard. Yes, this is actually like a challenge now. Before, it was pretty easy to just kind of happen to come upon the right situation to steal a soul, or like to, you know, not be too bothered by the other guests. But now we really gotta, you know, pay attention to everyone, which is good. It's a very good difficulty curve, I gotta say. This is like a good video game or something. What's up with that? Yeah, you just walk away. No, keep walking away, please. Come on, chef. Don't go all day. Oh, come on, you're gonna come stand at this door too? Oh no, okay, good. Uh-huh. No! I only have so much time before my son goes back into the storage room. Come on, dude. Oh, what? Okay. Okay, he's gonna go back to work, apparently. And let's see where my son is at. Okay, he's still in the library. There's gotta be a juicy conversation going on there in the room with the mummy dogs and angel dog, but I don't want to miss a chance to get the screwdriver, so thank you. Okay, now we're first gonna save, so we don't lose it again. And then we talk to Cloakmaster, and then he dies, and then we steal his kid's soul, and then we save and quit for the day. Night. Whatever. And then we'll have 2 more souls to get. And I think the last one is either Gregory's or Gregory Mama's, I assume? I don't actually remember. Apparently, the Metacritic for Gregory Horror Show was deleted at some point, so the only way to see it now is via the Wayback Machine. Why is it deleted? What the hell? Why did I hate my favorite game in the whole world? That's not true. It's not really my favorite game, but I do love it. Why did they delete it though? That's... it's cringe, you see? That said, what was the score? Okay, let's go listen on these dudes first. Hey, what happened to your soul?
I lost it to Zoe.
You lost it a long time ago. Did Zoe really pull the fast...
Oh, that Zoe really pulled a fast one on me.
Does it?
Stop that! There is no time to be laughing! That settles it. We have to blame everything on Zoe. And send the kid up to meet Gregory, Mama.
Oh my.
Hey, let's
Oh! Go in here. Hi, dude.
Do you know
No, my name.
It's
Judgment Boy. Judgment Boy. Not as good as the one in the TV show. You remember how you got his soul, right? Yeah. I just sort of found him passed out in the library. That's all I did. I just found him passed out. Also, Clockfather's on the move. I'm assuming he's gonna go to the bar. So yeah, putting the fact I haven't done my dishes on you. Damn it! And there's nothing I can do about it. Is that pulling a fast one on him? I mean, I wouldn't say that, but it was certainly a bit rude. Oh, there is a Cactus Gunman. I'll hide over here for a bit. Assuming he's gonna go to his room. I'm joking, I did my dishes. Oh, you're stronger than me. Good job. Oh, my sanity is extremely low. I had better use this red herb. Which is still not that much. Okay, no, they are in the room together. That is a problem. Because Cactus Gunman tries to fight me if he sees me. I do believe, still. And I just want to talk to Clockmaster. As in, get him to do his special technique and then die.
Listen to me, young man. I am getting old. In the past, I could stop time as much as I liked and never feel the worse for it. But now I can only manage a few times, and more than that is just too much. I'm afraid my time is over.
Stop, listen to what you're saying, senor. You're only washed up because you tell yourself you're washed up. That's not a very good accent, I don't think. A real man must never give up, no matter how tough things get.
You're right. Thank you, young man. I'll show them there's on fire left in this old body yet.
Okay, let's see what happens when I walk in here. Hello. Yep, that's what I thought. Always fast. Oh. You're following me further? Alright, I guess not. In that case... we can't go talk to Clockmaster right now, so we'll go check the garden, get some dank weed, and trade it for stomach medicine. So that we can stop losing so much fucking sanity all the time. Grab it. Thank you. Grab it. Thank you. And... grab it. But I can't hold anymore. So I'll just eat one. I did not remember that this game got so... let's call it precise near the end, you know? But I like it. It adds to the tension a lot. Make sure there's no one over there. Yes, we're good. Pum pam pum pam pum pam pum pam pum pam. Greg! My best friend! I need anti-acid and antacid. Is antacid a real thing, Chad? Antacid? Does that exist? Is it for realsies?
Please.
Your best friends are that red? Of course not. Where did you get that idea? Yeah, pretty sure. Is it called antacid? And how do you pronounce it? Do you pronounce it antacid or antacid? Or anticid? Antacid is a real thing? Yep. Huh. Oh, we are doing bad. Look at our icon, dude. Look at our face. We are doing bad. And acid, and acid. I can't believe you guys are all killing ants with acid. That's fucked up. We have a headache, which is not great. Wouldn't happen to have something for that in our cupboard, would we? Man, bandage? No. No, no, no. Eye drops. Laughing shrooms? Here's melancholy. Tums, Pepto-Bismol, most anything you get over the counter for your tummy. Oh, that's what antacid is. Okay. Alright then. That makes more sense now. Okay, where is he now? Okay, he's there alone. Okay, good. We're gonna save. Ow. Going back to an ant genocide. I know, clone. It's fucked up.
Save this game, Ribbit.
They're trying to hide the fact that they hate ants. They're trying to tell us that antacid is something for your tummy and not something to murder ants with. That's fucked up. I can't believe my own dear audience would do that shit. Go it this way. I don't want to risk having to go past Hell Chef's room, because he might come out and try to fucking murder me. Okay, moment of fucking truth, chat. Hey bitch, check out what I got.
Oh, I say, hello there. What can I do for...
Stop right there!
This...
Isn't that my son's screwdriver? What?
You couldn't. You didn't steal it from my son, did you?
Once.
So you did you? You little ruffian, give it back.
Oh, here we go. Oh, okay, now I'm running away, I guess. Do I want to go to his son? Well, that's gonna be a problem because his son is, you know, in the garden. Maybe if I just run away from him for a little bit, he'll, like, die.
Time is money!
Oh, fuck. Oh, okay, so... You can definitely use time magic. Oh, no, not again! No, fuck, dude. God damn it.
Looking pretty pale there. I've got some nice medicine.
Zawarudo.
Blah, 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 blah. Do you have to make a time stop a few times until he breaks? Why were you in the room? That's not your room. Why were you in there? What room is this? I don't think this is anybody's room. Uh-oh. What did I just see there? It's Hell Chef. Hey, Neko Zombie, let's go hang out in your room. But yeah, I probably have to make him time stop a few times. Oh. Oh! What? Okay, hello? What? I think the game is giving us an out. I think the game is saying, it's okay, Zoe, just get Angel Dog's soul. And that can be your nice little final achievement at the end of your stream. You don't have to keep bothering with Clockmaster. It's okay, just get this one. That is fun. Okay, it is... What time is it? It's 7 p.m. Okay, Chad, remember that. 7 p.m., the time that my streams start usually. That is when Angel Dog's soul is gettable. Like, in case we don't get it now, we gotta go get it, you know? How funny that the game... It's actually very odd, if I think about it, because... Oh, fuck, Catherine's over there, are you kidding me? I'll go over to the second floor. Cause like, when, go up. When Mummy Papa fell over, we didn't get a thing for that, you know? We didn't get a little cutscene for that. Make sure it's still safe. Oh wait, Gregory's in there now. Oh no, I don't think we can do it anymore. I think that might have been like a really small window of time we could have gotten it. But maybe if we coaxed him to come out.
What do you think you're doing?
This room is scheduled for cleaning.
Honestly, how annoying.
What do you care? I can do whatever I want. You're in the way. Get out this instant. Why don't you forget about the cleaning and take a nap or something?
What did you say?
Enough of your lip. I'll clean this room if it's the last thing I ever do. Buzz off and go read one of those perverted books of yours. Ah, see, that's how I was thinking that we could get Gregory. Like, we can get Gregory to leave with the. Shit.
Egg.
No. No, this is inconvenient. How goes the basement party? The basement party actually ended. We're done with the basement. And now we're doing really difficult things. Yeah, she fell over. Awesome. Okay, seems I've lost her. Although she might take the shortest route back to the infirmary, which is this way. I'll have to hide. I don't suppose I could do this, could I? I don't know if this would work. I love that Angel Dog and Gregory hate each other. It's very good. It's very funny. Also, trans girl Trish, thank you very much for the egg. Egg.
Egg.
Balls of flesh, thank you as well. Wait, no. Wait, as long as it's only... Damn it, it's both of them. Keep your mouth shut in front of our guest. Oh, didn't you know? It's entirely up to me. What is? Whether or not you shut up?
Honestly, how annoying.
Damn, they fucking hate each other. She'll say it right to his face, too. I love all the little dialogues and stuff they have with each other. It's very fun. That said, we once again did not get a soul, which is inconvenient, again. Okay, the second floor is mostly empty now, so I think if I go there and I just start running in circles with Clockmaster chasing me, we should be good. We should be able to break him down. In the meantime, my son is all the way in the fucking base. He's always playing with other kids. What an inconvenience. Hello? Oh, hi. Hey, motherfucker.
You! Stop right there! Isn't that my son's screwdriver?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. Why, yes, I
Return
did.
it to my son at once!
No, I will not. No, no, no. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Very good. Bye, or whatever. Oh, okay, it's James. Alright, that's good.
Time is money!
Okay, it's gonna teleport behind me. Good. I love the music. I love the music gets more crazy. Oh shit. Shh.
Return it to my son at once! Time is
Okay, here he goes. Okay. Yeah, okay, you definitely have to like do it a couple times because the music keeps getting more and more intense. More sped up.
Return it to my son at once!
Clockmaster vs. Dio Brando, who wins? I'm gonna say Dio Brando because Clockmaster has this happen to him. And he has died. This is not the peace for time for peace or tranquility. Alright, so a fish around in Clockmaster's pocket. I got a golden stopwatch. What's that? A mysterious watch that advances time. Now you're the time master? Oh shit! Nice! Okay, so I assume this means that he can't do time magic again even when he wakes up. And also, if we use this, we probably can change it to any time we want. So that's awesome! Now we are DL. Yay! Although I can't seem to select it. I guess it's not a key item. What song will I name it?
Save this game, Ribbit.
He even says like time is money when he does it, as if it's a stand. That's actually very funny. Cool mechanic. Game good. Game good is the thing about it. If I had a time stopping thing, I mean, Unstoppable by David Bowie is a song that I really, really love. And it's kind of funny because like I'm literally stopping time, so it's like, you know, not unstoppable. But Unstoppable isn't that recognizable of a song name, you know? In any case, we should be able to go get the soul now from my son. If he wasn't down there playing with the other kids. And also, we really need to go to bed. So I'm just gonna hope that now that we have the time, the golden watch, whatever, Clockmaster won't be able to stop us either way, like he just doesn't have the ability anymore. And so we can take our time, no pun intended, to get to my son. Oh, nightmare, that's not good. Oh. Hello. Ooh. Angel herbs, that's nice. Put that in here. Do we get any red stuff? Oh yeah, we have an energy drink, so we can stuff that. We do have a red herb. And we have a headache again also. Fuck. Free weed! Okay. And where is... Okay, he is in their room. My son is in their room. So let's go safe again. and then go talk to him. And by talk to him, I mean scare the shit out of him. And then his dad can't fucking come help him. And then we'll get the soul. Gregory Horror Show, more like Gregory Boring Show. I'm going to beat up the fucking rat. Lol. You think... Okay, Gregory Horror Show might be Gregory Boring Show, but what about Zoe Stream Show? Is my stream show Boring Show? Or should I be the new host of the show and I should replace him because I'm better at it? This place is totally boring. I'm gonna go out and play. Okay, have fun, James! Zoe Exciting Show, Zoe Horror Show, Zoe's videos, game shows behind me. It's James, actually. It's...
Shoot.
Shh. Okay. So, if everything goes according to plan, I should now just walk in there, and they can't do anything to me. Hi.
Huh? Hey, that's my screwdriver, so you took it, huh? Give it back.
I did take it,
Daddy,
and I will not.
That kid took my screwdriver.
I'll trade it for
Go
his
teach the
soul.
brat a lesson.
What? You little brat.
Bro, it's my
I'll
son.
teach you to pick up
Yeah,
my
his
son.
name is my son. Wait, what? Hey. You shouldn't be allowed to do this anymore. Well, I don't know what the fuck the game wants me to do. Oh, that's useful, actually. Maybe... I guess because, Clockmaster is up and running again, I guess it's not his, it's not the golden watch that lets him do the time magics. That's just also something he has. So... I guess we just have to knock him out again at a time when we can get to my son. And since I don't feel like it, and he seems to be hanging out with the dogs right now, not my son, my son, that's his name is my son, but he's not my son. Since we now have the time turny thingy, whatever the hell, we can go over here and just make the time be 7 p.m. so that we can get Angel Dog's soul. Because we know that that one's gonna be there at that time, but only for a little time. Yeah. What's that? Well, it's our favorite Neko Zombie. Hi. Watching the hands move on the clock. Alright, yeah, with this one. Bye. Whoop. If my son was trans femme, she'd be my daughter. This is true. Okay, now the thing is, I assume Angel Dog will not be putting down her soul here if we're just already here. Hey, motherfucker. I'll see you next stream, bitch. That boy. If my son was non-binary, they'd be my child. You guys are so right, you know? I think Storiel says. Alright, let's see. I'll go into storage for now. And then we'll change the time. I could just steal the thing again. But I'm not gonna do that right now because if I then teleport, if after the time turn, after we change the time, my son is here, then he'll immediately like spot us and be like, "Oh, my father killed this bitch," you know, Mr. Electric and all that, you know, and we don't want that right now. So. Wait, I don't get to choose? Well, that's fucking inconvenient. We passed the time that I needed. This shit sucks. I thought this was like a cool late game item that allowed you to... It's just an infinite time fruit, I guess. It just randomly progresses some time. This item isn't that good at all. Moves it forward 1 hour, does it say that? Mysterious watch that advances time. Now you're the time master. This one says 2 hours. This one doesn't say anything when you use it. Well, yeah, 1 hour. Yeah, because it's like random, I feel. Or like I can't just choose, I guess. Plus our sanity still goes down. I guess we just have to keep using it. Cactus Gummin is in a garden right now, so we can't get any wheat from there. I guess we have to use it a couple times. Use this one for 2 hours. Our sanity is doing very bad. Okay, stop. Okay, alright, nice. Tired anymore, that's good. Okay. Muscle is Vector, the karma collector. I've sworn to fight for you. Hell yeah. I'll put him right in the middle of your face. Or right in the middle of the chat. There I put him. Oh, on me. I'm so sorry. I should have different sound effects for those. My bad. Also, why didn't the icon pop up for it? I thought I'd fixed that. Oh well. Vector haircut.
Egg.
And also some eggs. Deaga finishing the second egg stack. And screaming reactions starting the third. Also some sippies and posture check, but I'm out of sippy.
Egg.
My bottle's completely empty, so I won't be able to do that, sadly. Plus, I've been really wanting to end the stream. Well, not wanting per se, but like I should be ending the stream soon. I intended to end it a while ago, but I keep not getting a fucking soul. So like once I'm like, I just want to end it and then I can like have sippies after, you know, I don't want to go get water now when I'm so close to getting another soul, you know? I love that the stickers are also glowing. Yeah, when they're on me, they're also, they start to glow. It's fun. Okay, now, ideally, if I make my way over to the lounge quickly, then Gregory will leave, and Angel Dog will put her soul down, and then I can go get it. Almost. Oy. I'm busy. Tilsdale on item, alright. You have selected Tilsdale. Five seconds. A little more than 5 seconds. Okay, come on, Greg, leave. Greg! No! What the hell?
What are you...
Okay, wait. What? Okay. I'm just gonna try this. This is my last thing, and then we're like ending it for today. I have your erotic magazine. Take it and leave. Oh my god. Wait, I'm actually hiding behind the chair. That's kind of fun. Come on.
Honestly, how annoying.
Well, so what were the conditions that caused her to put her soul down? It was definitely at 7 p.m. Right? Wasn't it? I thought so. And then like Greg came in and he probably like got mad about it and stuff.
What did you say?
And she says this line, which suggests that you should be,
What did you say?
making Gregory go away by giving him the porno mag, so he leaves and goes to read it.
That does it.
Come on. I'm just gonna start over. Anything else I can do? I can use a stopwatch, I guess, to progress time again. But it doesn't seem helpful though, does it? Well, we're almost another hour in, so maybe at that point, one or both of them will leave. They both leave. Awesome. Okay, alright, okay. Okay, here's what I think happened. Previously, when we got the cutscene that Angel Dog put the soul down on the table, you know, here's your tail still, Gregory. when Angel Dog put her soul back down on the coffee table, I think it's because for some reason Gregory was held up. Either the AI was just being a little bit funky because it happened just after I got out of bed, or he got held up by like some other NPC or something, another guest. But for some reason he wasn't there long enough for her to put her soul down. So what we want to do is we want to go to 6 p.m. or maybe 5 p.m. before Gregory gets here, then give him the magazine to make him go to the storage, yeah, and then he won't be here, and then we can go here and grab the soul. That is what I think we need to do. But we're not gonna do that now because it's late. And I really should be ending stream around now. Uh-oh. I mean, she won't fight me, will she? She'll just leave? Oh. She doesn't even seem to care. Really? I think I have an idea if you want to hear it. Yeah, sure, you can tell me. If it is just an idea and not a proven solution.
Honestly, how annoying.
Wow. I'm imagining James pounding nails into the coffee table like that one Calvin Hobbes comic. Is this a trick question? I fucking love that comic. It's so good. Okay, we're gonna take a final sleepies, and then we're gonna take a final savies, and that's it. What if my son will trade us the stopwatch for the soul? Possibly. But we'll have to try next time. It's worth a try, of course. Although it's not a key item. And we haven't had any had any characters react to anything but key items. But maybe. We'll find out next week. Because it is late, and I am pretty tired. I am pretty tired, and it is late. And we've been going for almost 4 hours, even though we already started later than usual. So, again, we will Gregory Horror Show in December if need be. Wahoo! Ideally, need will not be, but yes, I will keep going until I finish it, of course. Honestly, I thought you would be able to trade the screwdriver for the soul. My son said he values the screwdriver more than the soul. I know! I also thought so, but nope. I guess not. I still don't know what we're supposed to do. I don't know. Oh, wait, no, I do know. Or at least I think I know. We have to knock out... Okay, so next time, we gotta figure out... We gotta get the timing right. We gotta go to 5 p.m. Give Gregory the pornographic magazine, so he fucks off, and then we go to we wait by the lounge for Angel Dog to go in. She puts the soul down because Gregory's not there to bother her. We sneak in, we get the soul. Also, we chase we let Clockman, we let Scissorman chase us around for a little bit, specifically at a time where once he's knocked out, my son will be by himself. And then we can go up to him, and he'll call for his father, but his father won't show up because he's knocked out on the floor somewhere. And we get his soul, and then we can do the finale of the game. Because look, there is one more soul of a character that we haven't encountered yet, which is presumably Gregory Mama, if I had to guess. But that's next time. It's Mario! It's Doc Luigi! Anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be back tomorrow with Escape Simulator together with my friends Luke and Noodle. That's going to be really, really fun. 7 p.m. GMT +2, blah, blah, blah. Exclamation point links in chat if you want to get a link to my little website with all my links on it, to all my various endeavors and ref sheets and all kinds of shit. You can figure it out from there. I'm tired. Let's find someone to rate so I can leave. I've had a bit of a busy day. Dun-dun-dun. Ba-ba-bam. Da-da-da-dun. Ooh. Rocco is playing Little Nightmares. Wouldn't you know it? Little Nightmares is basically my favorite horror game. Not this one. I'm so sorry. So we're gonna meet Rococo, who is a very nice clown girl. She's super fun, super sweet. And the raid message will be... Any suggestions, chat? You guys got anything in mind? Anything that would be fun? Maybe something with my son. It'll be... Boo, sorry. Time is money? No, that's rude. Let's do the time warp again? That's kind of cute. Let's do the time warp again. That's a fun one. I like that one, Kira Cat. That's fun. That'll be the raid message. So, if you are not brought along automatically, simply wait in chat and I will post the link as well so you can still come. Thank you guys so much for coming. I know it got a bit slow near the end of the stream, but hopefully it was still entertaining, even though we didn't make any progress. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Bye bye bye.